What's up, guys? This is James with Cloud Vapes, and let's just jump right into it. Now, there's a lot of options out there just because of how big vaping has gotten as an industry. Now, the first types of vapes are going to be e-cigarettes, and those are those small ones that look like a cigarette. Now, I don't really suggest these ones just because you can't choose what type of juices are going to be in them. They're usually lower quality because the whole system gets replaced every time you need a refill. So as far as e-cigarettes go, I would only suggest them if you're on a very tight budget or you just want to try it out. There are much better options out there as we'll go into our next categories. So the next thing we're going to go over is going to be pod-based systems. Now, there are two types of pod-based systems. First one is going to be a closed pod-based system like the Juul or the Mile. Now with those, you're going to be replacing the pods. Now compare that to a refillable pod-based system, which I much prefer. Because with a closed pod-based system, you're replacing the pods, so you have a very limited choice in what kind of flavor you have in your vape. Because you can only choose between the ones that each company provides. Now with a refillable pod-based system, you're going to be able to put whatever juice you want into it, so it drastically increases your option of what flavors you have. Examples of a refillable pod-based system would be like the Mi Pod or the Nautilus IO. Now with a pod-based system, this is going to be the first one where you can actually be putting in your own juice. So you have two choices, which would be a nicotine salt-based or a regular nicotine solution-based juice. For pod-based systems, I would recommend salt nicotine juices just because they pack a little more of a punch, so it's going to last you longer than a regular nicotine solution juice would. In a refillable pod-based system, you're also going to be replacing the coils as well as the juice. The next category is going to be vape pens. Now they're a bit of a step up from pod-based systems in their vapor production. Now in a vape pen, you're going to be replacing a coil and the juice just like a refillable pod-based system. You're also going to get to start to get a more selection in the hardware because with some vape pens, not all, you can switch the top component, which would be the tank or the RDA, between different vapes. Examples of vape pens would be the Smock Nord or the Vape Flint. Now, I generally wouldn't recommend a vape pen just because if you step up to our next category, box mods, you're going to get the big vapor production, and it's about the same size, depending on what you get, which device you choose to use. Now, you have the most options in hardware. You get just like a couple of the last categories, you get to choose whatever juice you want to put into it. There's tons of different tanks, RDAs, RDTAs, sub-ohm tanks that you can put on them. You're also going to get the widest selection just because it's the most produced category. If you're looking for high vapor production, this is probably the best for most people. Now, our last category is going to be mechanical mods, which I wouldn't suggest to anyone new because they aren't regulated like all of the previous devices. You have to be really careful with mechanical mods. If you are going to get a mechanical mod, I highly recommend that you do your diligent research and know all about ohms, wattage, the proper wattage for that amount of ohms. So for mechanical mods, I wouldn't suggest them for anyone new. You should really do your research just for safety reasons. Everything that you see in the news about a vape malfunctioning or someone getting hurt because of a vape exploding, that's almost always a mechanical mod, and it's almost always because it was used improperly. Now, for most new vapors, I would suggest a pod-based system with a salt nicotine juice, just because it's going to give you the throat hit of a cigarette, making it easier to transition from cigarettes to smoking. And also, it's very convenient. The most convenient would be closed pod-based systems because you just pop it in, pop it out, that's all. But if you're willing to do a little bit more work, replacing atomizers and filling it up with juice, then I would recommend a refillable pod-based system because then you can choose whatever juice you want, so you have a lot more flavor options. But the right device is going to vary from person to person and what you're looking for out of your vape experience. So I hope I've given you everything you need to know to choose what type of vaping system you would like. The last thing I want to go over is where you're going to buy your vape. So you basically have two general options. One would be to buy it from your local vape shop or to buy it online. There are some benefits and cons to each one, so let's go over those really quickly. So if you go to your local vape shop, the pros are that you have people there who have some expertise and can answer any questions you have, help you find the right device for you, suggest juices to you. The downside is that they usually upcharge, and of course they have to upcharge to make a profit, but some of them upcharge ridiculous amounts, like over 100% plus the cost that they bought it at. So for instance, this Aegis Legend, costs roughly about $50 online, but it was $100 for just the mod, but it was $100 for the mod and $150 for the kit. Benefits of buying online is it's a lot cheaper, so you're going to save a lot of money. But buying online, you will not have the expertise of someone who can tell you a little bit more about vaping, answer any of your questions, and maybe give you some suggestions for devices or juices. Now, if you're going to go with a vape pen, a mod, or a mech mod, just as a beginner, I would suggest getting a kit, just because it gives you everything you need all in one package, and you know everything's going to work together. So I hope I went over everything that you guys would need to know. If you have any questions, just leave a comment down below. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe if you want to see more of this type of content. If you like the video, like it.